Tax defaulted property auctions are just like a wedding. If you've been to a wedding, you know the next one is completely different. Each one is unique. There are certain rules to follow, and there's often an embarrassing moment when someone doesn't follow them and can make things awkward for everyone. To avoid being that person, here are the simple steps to navigating the tax deed auction process so you can leave the wedding having had a good time and not like Uncle Henry, who has embarrassed himself one too many times and who everyone is avoiding. The invitation has landed in your mailbox and you're delighted to be attending the wedding. Just like when you found a tax defaulted property that you're interested in bidding for that looks perfect. What's the very first thing you do when you get the invitation? No, it's not realize you can finally get rid of the ugly set of frying pans that Aunt Hilda gave you for your wedding clear back in 1987, and you've been hiding in the back of your closet ever since. The first thing you do is find out what are the protocols for the wedding. You must find out what I call the rules of engagement. What do you wear? What are your gift options? And how much dad dancing are you allowed to do? Every auction has rules of engagement. Each local county government has SOP manuals, that is standard operating procedure, and most county treasurers will run the auction by the book. If this is your first auction, this is good news. The process is predictable, which means the county treasurer has an accepted way that they will do things so you know exactly how the auction process will proceed. The local county will provide you with rules of engagement, which you can follow, knowing exactly who does what and when during the auction. If you don't follow the rules, it dramatically increases the possibility you will lose your money. For sure, the local county has mandated and written the rules, and the county will reject bidding if you do not follow the rules. Everything works perfectly for your invitation. The dates are available, and you're looking forward to attending. So what's next? It's to RSVP. It's the same at your tax deed auction. It might seem obvious, but the next thing to do is register for the auction. You wouldn't believe how many people I've seen who just show up on auction day and think they can bid on the property they choose. Registration is usually required days before the actual auction. This will vary from county to county. The process is laid out by the county on exactly how you register and when you should have it completed. The highest bid wins the auction. When you're looking for a gift for the newlyweds, you don't go into a random store, go up to any shelf and pick the first thing you come across as their present. You would do your homework, research and find out what the engaged couple would like for their future together and determine if the gift is actually what the couple is looking for. And it's the same with the property you are preparing to bid for at the tax defaulted property auction. Only uneducated people, I call them risk takers, bid at auctions without researching the title and without having boots on the ground to observe the property's condition. You need to observe the physical details and analyze the property itself and the neighborhood to fully understand what you're bidding for. Risk takers are hoping and praying the property is a good deal. Guessing doesn't work. Praying doesn't work either. Prayer is not a good business strategy, and it won't save you from investing in a bad property. Once that's done, you're down to picking the specific event location for the big day. Is it a church, the county courthouse, or a beautiful lakefront? The county makes the decision if they're going to have a live in-person auction or an online auction or a combination of both. In most instances, auctions take place in a large room, or they might take place on the courthouse steps. It's up to the treasurer, and they will attempt to make the venue accessible as possible. Bidders should expect auction location to change from time to time. Check the county website for the auction location. The faith of the bride and the groom and how they want the ceremony will determine the format of the wedding. And your tax deed auction is very similar. And the most popular auctions are shout-out auctions and are common in most states and counties. But this type of process is not guaranteed to be used at your tax defaulted property auction. The county governments have dozens of different auction processes they use. For example, most people know and accept a bidder's card with a number, and they hold up the card and the auctioneer recognizes the number. Other auctions may use ping pong balls in a big rotating tube like a bingo game. Some draw straws and some draw playing cards. It's important to understand which one is being used. If you haven't researched before the auction, it's too late, and you'll be one left with the joker. If you were to attend a wedding where no one speaks your language and the ceremony is completely different than anything you know, it's unlikely that you're going to enjoy it. But people do this at tax-defaulted property auctions. The county website will describe the property. While it may be written in English, there are certain terms and definitions that ordinary people don't understand. This can be fatal. If someone comes up to you at the wedding and asks you a question in a language you don't understand, you don't know if they're asking you if they can buy you a drink or you've just agreed to donate $3,000 to the newlyweds. If there is one term the bidders don't understand in the property description, it could cost them thousands of dollars in legal fees alone to sort it out. For example, all county auctions are as is. Knowing this means the county is not expressing an opinion regarding condition of the property, and the county does not provide warranty of the property title to be clear of defects. This is important to understand. Bidders who do not understand any explanation should not bid. Just as wedding receptions can sometimes get a little chaotic, just like your 95-year-old Aunt Ethel, who's grabbing every young guy and making them dance with her after she's had one glass of champagne too many, the auction environment can be a little crazy. The auctioneer may be a county employee or a professional employed by an auction company hired by the official county treasurer. Whoever holds the auction is required to follow the rules. The county is concerned about fraudulent bidding, and that's why they put the rules in place. It's by the book, unlike your Aunt Ethel. For the next step, I don't have a wedding analogy, so I'm going to go right into it. Many auctions allow proxy bids. A proxy bid is where you're allowed to place your maximum bid on a specific property that you are interested to bid before the auction starts. The auctioneer will systematically continue the bidding process until they reach your bid. If no one bids higher than your proxy bid, you've won the property. Today, there are hundreds of types of wedding ceremonies with many different ways to interpret them. And your tax-defaulted property auctions are exactly the same. There's no way I can explain all of them in this video. Newcomers must read the auction rules and understand them, or just don't bid. The county treasurer is responsible for explaining the bidding process. Generally speaking, the highest bidder wins at the property auctions. The winner in this world of tax-defaulted property auction is the educated person who researches and ultimately understands and utilizes all the possible information online and offline. When it comes to finding the ideal wedding gift today, you're more than likely going to research wedding registry online. And your ideal tax defaulted property is the same. Property auction lists are accessible on the county website. Additionally, the lists are announced in the local newspaper weeks in advance of the scheduled auction. Using newspapers or the county website allows eager bidders, investors, to research and find multiple bargains and have ample time to have boots on the ground to evaluate the property condition and the neighborhood to fully understand if the property is worth bidding for. While it may be easy to give an amazing gift to your newlywed couple all wrapped up beautifully, unfortunately, the same cannot be said for your tax-defaulted property. Savvy investors use research to minimize any potential pitfalls that may arise. The county treasurer is transferring a defaulted tax property by using the auction process to the highest bidder. The property is used and abused and may not be marketable because there are title complications. Title companies and banking institutions will not accept county-generated deeds, no matter what the title on the deed. It could say treasurer's deed, it could say commissioner's deed, it could say property deed. Counties only issue quitclaim deeds. Again, the county issues quitclaim deeds. Institutions, title companies, banks require the new owner to provide clear title if they want financing. Newcomers ask me, what simple thing can I do to be successful? Here is what I've discovered and where you can eliminate potential issues you may experience with tax deeds. If you don't have a coach and you're not working with someone who has successfully navigated the terrain, you need to get a coach so that you can avoid the minefield of money-losing properties. Yes, you can be a lone wolf and go it alone. That's where you dramatically increase your risk, which could cost you thousands of dollars. When 3,000 plus counties across the United States are all constantly conducting tax defaulted auctions, expect each will have their own rules. I can't put everything you need to do in one video, which is why we have programs to help you navigate the minefield that is tax defaulted property auctions. I don't have a wedding analogy for this next step for you to take. I'm going to go straight into it. Listen carefully. This one is vital information for you. Most new owners, immediately after the auction, start a new legal process referred to as quiet title action. The process is cumbersome and requires a judge to ultimately sign off on the court order to authorize clear title. This requires an experienced attorney who will conduct thorough research and follow up and eliminate title challenges. Sound complicated? That's because it is. The county sells, that is, auctions property as is. The process is not acceptable for most banks or title companies. A quiet title action is a court process which turns the county's quitclaim deed issued at the auction into a legally approved clear title. A lot of surprises happen to beginners who have little to no training. For example, it's common for observers and bidders to say and believe that the tax defaulted property auction eliminates all liens. Certainly, the mortgage and deed of trust loans are eliminated along with private party liens. In my opinion, buyer beware. Municipal liens, IRS liens, federal liens, and many state liens remain with the property. I have known eager buyers who have purchased a property at auction but did not review the property records. It wasn't until after the auction they discovered post-auction municipal liens or IRS liens remained on the property. It's not unusual for a municipal lien to exceed $30,000. This is a serious matter. As our training makes you aware, IRS liens are also a serious matter. However, in many instances, the IRS lien will be deleted if the proper notices are followed by the county. Federal and state liens are a whole other matter. A large majority of people at tax defaulted auction are not investors, nor do they understand the process and rarely do any research. This is must-know information before you bid. Which liens are removed by the auction and which liens remain with the property. Only risk takers, uneducated investors, risk bidding and purchasing at a tax defaulted property auction without due diligence. The risk is real and title research is a must. If the lien remains on the property, your potential profit you would have made will be significantly less. It is your responsibility. If you purchase from an auctioneer and there is a lien on the property, you haven't done your homework. Savvy investors, by researching, will discover each state has its own rules. For example, in California, the state and the county will wait 5 years before the county will seize the property. Once the defaulted property is eventually seized, the treasurer will auction the property to the highest bidder. Municipal and federal liens remain on the property after the auction. Texas is different. Texas is a redeemable deed state, which means that the delinquent property owner at any time during 180 days after the auction may request to repurchase the property. However, the defaulting owner must pay the winning bidder the full amount the winning bidder paid at the auction plus an additional 25% penalty. Texas is not the only state to offer redeemable deeds. To find out which states offer redeemable deeds and how much penalty you can make from your tax deed property, click on the video on your screen now or on the link in the description below.